Good afternoon, welcome back to another video with a guy and his projects. Today we are working on a 2016 Ford Edge SEL and we are doing the rear brakes and rotors. This is a pretty easy job. It's one of the easier brake jobs, especially considering it's a 9-year-old vehicle now, I guess. And you know, things get complicated as things get newer. This one is still pretty simple, and it's something you can do even with the electronic parking brake. I'll show you how. Speaking of showing you how, remember, I am not a certified trainer, instructor, or anything else in the mechanical world. I just learn how to do this stuff and I do it. And I try to help you guys save some money too, because if you're like me and you got 9 vehicles, you can't afford to bring them to somebody every time something goes wrong. I wouldn't have 9 vehicles if I did that. I only have 5 right now. 6, 7. I have 7 right now. Anyway, that's aside the fact. So we are working on the 2016 Ford Edge doing rear brakes. So something a lot of you probably already know with Ford is on a certain year range from like a long time ago to some currently, they used a covering over lug nuts, which makes it really hard to get these lug nuts off once they start swelling. So this chrome coating, whatever it is, there's a steel lug nut down there. It does not go all the way back. The back end of this lug nut is hollow essentially. And once that steel starts swelling, it makes this thing oblong shaped. You can't get your 21mm socket on it. Case in point, I'm gonna put a 21 on there and you can barely get it on the lug nut, and it happens to a lot of things. So I have what you call a half set. So I got a 17, 17 and a half, 18 and a half, 19, 19, 21, 21 and a half, 21. I don't know why I got 2 21s, but that's what they gave me. 22mm and a 22 and a half. These are halves, so that when this happens and you can't get your 21 on there, you can get your 21 and a half. You could put a 22, but then you risk stripping these out and then you have an even worse day. So this half size is amazing. I will link this entire kit down below. I will also link a brake kit down below, brake and rotor kit. If you guys click on the Amazon links and buy stuff, not even necessarily the stuff I link, I make money as long as you don't click on somebody else's link after mine. So moral of the story, if you buy stuff, you get stuff, and I get money. Win-win situation. Buy lots of stuff after clicking on my links. Seriously though, that does help fund these projects. It helps me give good prices to customers, and helps me keep posting these videos for you guys. Alright, all that said, so to further on with this kit is awesome. I like it. It comes with this little extension, so once you decide what size lug nut you're going to be using, or whatever, you stick this in, that locks in, and then you can use your ratchet to break these loose, your impact, or what have you. I'll show you how that works. Pretty simple, pretty genius. I love the kit. Kit's awesome. Buy the kit. You can do this with a jack and jack stands. I have a lift. I'm going to use the lift, obviously. So let me go ahead and get this in the air. No, we got 2 things to do before I put this in the air. We got to put this in maintenance mode. So with electronic parking brakes, you can, and I have done it in the past, where you just spin the caliper piston back in its place. This is not it's a screw-in piston, right? You can do that, but if you don't put this in maintenance mode, you run the risk of the park brake setting while you're there. Some people just disconnect the electrical sensor on the motor itself. You can do that. I have done that. I've never seen an ill consequence of it. But the proper way, as I understand it, is to go into maintenance mode. So we're gonna do that. I'll show that to you. It's pretty easy. All right, make sure you have your key in the car, of course. So we're in the car. I know you guys are crooked. Best I can do. I'm gonna turn it on without starting the engine. Okay. And then I'm going to depress the gas all the way down, depress this down, hold it for a couple seconds, turn the button off, turn it back on within 5 seconds. Hopefully you can hear that. It's all depressing. Once it's done, I'm going to release everything. And over here on the display, after you see the hood ajar, yada yada, don't care. Tire pressure, don't care. Where's the one I want? Right there. Oh, press start to, well, we don't care about that either. Hold on. Full accessory power active. So many the things. There we go, park brake maintenance mode. That's what you want to see. So now we can kill this again. I guess that'll stay there, park brake maintenance mode. And we are essentially good to go. We also have this little light here. This little light on mine. All right, so now we're gonna go ahead and get out and get started. All right, so next thing I'm gonna do, you probably don't need to do it, is I like to just pop this cap off. Just gonna unscrew it so some air can vent. There we go. All right, so remembering we're using a 21.5 because our lug nuts are swollen. We did buy new lug nuts for the guy online. I will link those lug nuts down as well because that was like 26 bucks online versus 200 in the store. That's 10 bucks a piece in store, or I bought a whole case of 20 for like 23 or 26 bucks. I don't remember, but anyway. So this is a 19.5 millimeter because our 21 don't fit. This is a 21.5 millimeter because our 21 don't fit. Once they start to swell, I would highly advise you replace them instead of putting them back on. Because with that 19.5 or 21.5 millimeter, you're going to keep twisting this coating. And then your next time you go to put these off, take these off, it's gonna be even worse. So just get a one-piece lug nut, not this coated bullcrap Ford does, and solve all your problems. This is what I bought. I'll link them down below. All right, so first thing we're gonna do is take the caliper off of the system here. To do that, it's got these little caps here. You can either use your thumbnail if you got one. You can just use a screwdriver if you can't get it with your thumbnail. Easy peasy. For me, this is a 7mm Allen head. So you can bend these wires out of place a little bit and get in there. Make sure it's seated solid. You don't want to strip it. Quick little bang with your hand. You can see this is all spinning out. Once you get near the end, it'll stop going out and you want it all the way out. So we're just gonna, just like so. We can pull that out in a little bit. We can do the same thing with our bottom. Got that. You can just grab your screwdriver and pull it out, by the way. Pop the bottom one out in the same way. So for this spring clip here, we're just gonna grab it and pull it, if you can. Or you can just pull it out. Your new hardware kit should come with them. It's not a big deal if you bend it. There it is. And there's that. At this point, we should be able to pull our caliper off. Oh, maybe. Get back here. Use a screwdriver as a pry bar. There we go. I am going to flip this upside down just like so. Now you're at a point where if you are not replacing your rotor for whatever reason, I recommend you do, you could just replace pads. We're gonna go ahead and take this bracket off so that we can get this rotor off, which means I'm gonna flip you back around. So for me, this is a 15mm. I use a 6-point. I never use 12 points unless it's a 12-point bolt or starting the strip, because 12 points create problems. So I'm gonna get on this bolt here, same thing, give her a little smack. Oh, a big smack. Watch your knuckles on this sway bar end link, it'll get you. Hit the bottom one, same way. There's one, there's two, and this bracket comes right off. All right, now your bracket's off, we can pull your rotor off, except I like to leave this till I'm done playing with the caliper because this kind of, well, this dust shield's strong enough, so I can go and beat that off, why not? All right, so for the rotor, we are replacing these, so I'm not worried about him. He's got a couple ridges in him where he got rocks stuck. We're replacing them. You can use a metal hammer, it's way louder. You can use a rubber mallet, it's way quieter. Either way, we're just gonna vibrate this with the hammer until it decides to pop off. It gets kind of stuck in place, so we're just gonna hit it. Don't be gentle. If you're careful, if you want to worry about your toes, put just one lug nut on just a little bit, not all the way down, just a few threads just so it don't pop off. There we go. Once she starts wiggling loose, Oh, I should be able to pull it out. There we go. So at this point, yes, I know we have not replaced the pads yet. We're just gonna hold tight for a minute. I wanna grab a little wire brush and clean up this hub mounting surface. That's what rusts of the rotor, makes it hard to get the rotor off, so we're just gonna that out clean. For that, I have a wire brush and a drill. Breathe deep. At this point, I want to take some brake clean and just get whatever's left. That'll help get some of the dust out too. All right, now that we're done making that dusty mess, we're gonna go ahead and pop these brakes out. These brake pads, there's that one. It's getting thin, not toast yet, but it's getting there. To get this one out, oh, it's a little stuck in there. I just have to grab your little hammering device. They get seized in there. Pull that one out. All right, so there's two ways to go about getting this piston back in. One, you can buy a nice kit, which I will link below. I have that kit. So this kit I actually bought from Harbor Freight, but I will link one down below that's very similar. It's got all the different sizes and pieces for pretty much every brake set you're gonna come across, and it's very nice. I will link a different set too down, but this is the size I need out of that kit. So it comes with this guy. You just put on here. So you're gonna slide this in place, line up your little tibber tubes. It's really just a line up the pins, get her tight. So I'm just gonna go ahead and go the correct way, not the wrong way. And then you just tighten this up until the piston is compressed. Which it'll bottom out once it gets to that point. The downfalls of this kit is it's a little clunky, takes a couple of hands, but it's very smooth. I know clunky and smooth don't go together. It's clunky as in there's just pieces. It's really smooth as in the function. The function is super smooth. Recommend you buy one of these. I will link it down below. Again, you get stuff, I make money, win-win. When you're done, you just pull it out. Option 2 is the brake dice. These are cheap and sold at every freaking auto store I know of. This, you just get an extension for your 3/8 wrench, ratchet, figure out which pins fit. All right, so I'm gonna kind of clean up just where the pads ride on this guy with the same wire brush. And then on the mounting bracket, I'm gonna do the exact same thing. Your pads ride in these grooves. I'm gonna clean those up pretty good. Okay, and then I wanna brake clean, get all the dust out. And while that dries, this is not required, this is just something I like to do. Especially on vehicles that might end up coming back to me because they like my work. Not that I expect to do brakes again in the near future, but when a customer likes you and they keep coming back, there's a good likelihood you'll be taking things apart again to get to other problems. So, we are just gonna make it nice for either myself or the next guy and try and not have to beat this rotor off. It's supposed to be a very thin coat. I want a little heavy. Is this wasteful? Maybe. Does it make it messy for the next guy? Yeah. But does the next guy have to use a hammer? Hopefully not. Alright, if you get anti-seize on your hands, make sure you don't touch the rotor with that part of your hand. We're gonna get this. Notice how I'm handling it from the inside of the hub and not the rotor surface. Some manufacturers will tell you spray this, some people will tell you not to. Go by your manufacturer, which this one doesn't say either way. So for my fun, I'm gonna spray it. Usually the only ones you need to are the ones that have an oily film on them. This one doesn't have that oily film, but that's okay. I like spraying things with brake clean. We're going to line her up, send her home. Next step, brake caliper. Mounting bracket, we're gonna put this on. In order to do that, we need to get our bolts and some Loctite. Typically I'm not a Loctite guy, but Ford likes Loctite on this, so we're gonna do some Loctite. As indicated by the blue from the factory. So we're just gonna go whoop, like so. I'm hoping you guys can see, I can't get in there to see. Alright, so we're going to, I'll get my big old head in here. We can line this up. And get our other bolt, same thing, just a little whoop. And then we're going to tighten these up until they're snug. And then I want to grab my torque wrench and I'm going to torque this to 85 foot-pounds, just right there. Right there. Right there. All right, so our mounting bracket is in place. Before we put our pads on, I'm going to grab a little grease and I'm just going to coat where the pad is going to ride on the bracket. And if you get any grease on the rotor, preferably don't. In order to help alleviate squeals and squeaks later, we're going to put grease on everywhere where metal meets metal. So that's the caliper, that's the ears on this side of the caliper, the piston over here. Now lobbing it on, you're just getting a little bit. So now we got two options to put these on. Either you can put it on the that'd be backwards. Put it on the caliper and then move the caliper over, or you can put it on the surface here. We're gonna go ahead and do it this way today. Put that upside down, because that's just easier. We're gonna rotate this over and kind of set this guy in place. All right, so these pins, you do not want these old grease on here. It gets hardened and it creates ridges. And then the ridges will keep it from sliding later. So you wanna clean these up. If they're in good shape, sometimes you can just use your thumb. Sometimes some brake clean. These are actually in really good shape. I can kind of pretty much clean them up with my thumb, except for the very edge here. We'll use a little wire brush or toothbrush. This one, little worse shape. So what we're gonna do, this is a wire bristle brush, but it's a softer one, and we're not gonna put pressure. We are literally just trying to get this gunk off, trying to get the crap off of this. So very slow-mo. Once you got these cleaned up, I'm just gonna do a nice, even, lightweight coating of grease. I've never seen an official document with a measurement of grease to put on here. I make it up as I go. We're gonna slide this in this one. Try not to get any dirt on the grease you just put in there. Try not to touch it. Feed it through. And I'm gonna try and start it. There's some electrical wires in the way. Okay, once you get that started, we'll get the other one going. Slide this one in much in the same way. Okay, once they're bottomed out, we're gonna torque them. So these get torqued to 23 foot-pounds, I believe. This one's kind of hard to get in there, but you can do it. Just shove it in there, right there. And the bottom one as well. You might need to get a little extension to clear this motor. Yep, put my little extension on here. Right there. All right, at this point, we gotta put our new retainer on. This one, I've never figured out a good way to do these. If you have a tip and trick, please let me know. But essentially what I do is I get one side in, and I try to get the other side in and kind of bend it over with my thumb. That actually looked really easy. Took 3 tries on the other side. Just make sure they're set in all the way. All that's going to do is keep pressure on the caliper to hold it in place so it doesn't twist out. Don't forget, almost did, to put your retaining caps or your dust covers on the back of those slide bolts. Boom, we're ready to throw a tire on. So I'm going to torque my lug nuts to 100 foot-pounds with a 21mm socket because we have new lug nuts that'll fit, which is these guys. I will link below. Alright, so before we climb back in the cab, because I got the lift, so it's really hard to get in and out. Oh, we're going to pop the hood again. We're going to tighten the cap here, close this. I want to close it all the way so that the error message ain't in my face the whole time we're doing this. Okay, now we're going to do the same thing. We're going to turn ignition on, not the engine. We're going to depress the brake all the way down and pull this lever up. So all the way down on the accelerator, not brake. Pull this all the way up. You're now going to turn it off, the car. Maintain what you're doing here. Turn it back on. You can hear everything testing itself. And we're gonna let go of everything. So at this point, we are no longer in the maintenance mode, which is what we want. So now I'm gonna shut everything off again. And then just for fun, I'm gonna put my foot on the brake and start the engine. Now with my foot on the brake, I'm going to depress the park brake switch, which will release the park brake, let her off. Everything seems good in the world, and we're done with that. So we're going to shut this off again. Get out of here if I can. Squeeze out. Oh gosh. Okay, so now that we have unset or released us from the maintenance mode on the park brake, you are good to go for a drive. Your brake fluid might be a little over full. You might check that, suck some out if you need to, depress the brake a few times, and then you're going to take it for a drive. Depending on what brand brakes you bought, they might come with a procedure on how to bed in the brakes. If it did, follow those instructions to the best of your ability. If it didn't come with those instructions, it's up to your discretion. What I like to do is I like to go hit the road, somewhere quiet if possible. That's hard to do sometimes. I like to accelerate up to 30-40 miles an hour and then slow brake down to about 10 and then do that like 10 times. That's going to really heat up your rotors, really heat up your brakes, and it's going to allow them to bed together, I guess, if you might say. What this does is it just allows it to bed together. Look it up if you want to know what it does, because I don't fully understand. It's got something to do with not creating ridges in the rotor. If you get them hot at some point, you get your brake pads hot and your rotor hot, and you stop and you come to a complete stop, it can create a ridge in the rotor, which will then turn into a vibration in the future. Something to do with that. I don't know. I'm not a science guy, but that's what I understand. Anyway, I will link all the tools and the parts down below. Again, you click on Amazon links, buy stuff, I make money, you get stuff, life is happy. Continue to do so. Keep watching. I'll keep posting, guys. Thanks for sticking around. That's all I really got to say, so adios.